boat and the king. Once there was a little ferry boat who wanted to meet a king. Little ferry boat carried many people across the river. He carried Laris. He had a captain with golden buttons, but he had never met a king. These people and lorries and things are all right, little ferry boat said. They all are all right, but I want to meet a king. He said, kings fly in airplanes. They travel on big ships, but kings do not ride on little ferry boats. Little ferry boat thought sadly about kings. Then he said, I must be ready to meet a king. So he practiced to go to the shore without bump on his side or his nose. I must be ready, he said, to meet a king. Every day in the morning, little ferry boat waited for a king. There were old men with newspapers. There were young men with their bags. There were old ladies with their flowers. There were young ladies with their boys. But there wasn't a king. One morning, little ferry boat saw a big white ship. The big white ship called, Come here. Little ferry boat was surprised, but he came there. Big ship called, Do you know who is on my board? Little ferry boat said, Who? Big ship said, A king. A king? Cried little ferry boat. And his wife and his daughter, said big ship. And know what? They can't go to the shore. Can't go to the shore? Cried little ferry boat. Now he thought he could see a king and his family. Big ship said, Big ships can't come to the shore without tugboats. But there were no tugboats. Will you take the king to the shore? Take him to the shore? Cried little ferry boat. Right now? Big ship said yes. Little ferry boat was so glad he couldn't think. He came to big ship's side. The man tied him to the ship. Little ferry boat thought, Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, how lucky I don't bump. Suddenly, little ferry boat saw a beautiful white motorboat. He heard somebody say, Oh, here is fine motorboat. Now you need not go to this little ferry boat. But somebody else answered, The motorboat are all right. They are all right. But I want to ride on a little ferry boat. Me too, said somebody else. Then the man led the ladder down and on little ferry boat. But the two tugboats came. Little ferry boat heard somebody say, Oh, here come two tugboats. Now the tugboats can take big ship to the shore. Little ferry boat was ready to cry. The king will go to the shore on big ship. But somebody answered, The tugboats many take the ship to the shore. But I want to ride on that little ferry boat. I want to see the captain with his golden buttons. Me too, said somebody else. Little ferry boat jumped on the waves. The king walked down the ladder. He had a gold crown and a great gold ring. His wife came next. She had a gold crown and a beautiful red dress. His daughter came next. She had a gold crown and a beautiful green dress. Little ferry boat moved to the shore. He thought, mustn't bump the king, but of course he bumped. The king and his family laughed. Little ferry boat tried to go slowly, but he bumped once more. The king and his family laughed. The king's wife said, I want to go across the river again. Little ferry boat crossed the river again and again. The king and his family laughed and waved to their captain. Little ferry boat never had so much fun in his life. Suddenly the king's wife said, We cannot go across the river one more time. The king said, Okay. Then he said to the captain, Can we go again tomorrow? You may take a ride any time, little ferry boat cried. Any time, He was so glad he forgot he was talking to the king. He said, "Buy your tickets, please." And the king said, "Yes, of course."